Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
This is Kentucky's Voice Radio, covering the latest state and local issues with Tom Fallbush, Bob Scott, and Jim Waters.
Good morning, Kentuckiana. I'm your special host, Dr. Lance Pearson with the Kentucky Liberty Caucus and also the Louisville Tea Party. I'm happy to have you listening on 970 AM. We also are live stream on the Kentucky's Voice channel on both Facebook and YouTube. If you want to just search for Kentucky's Voice on either of those, this should be live. We also will put archive video on that YouTube channel that you can go and find past episodes, or, in a day or two, we'll upload that. We also will have a TV rebroadcast of this podcast that will be located on Spectrum TV, channel 21. And I believe the times are 12:30, 4, and 8 p.m. the last time I checked. But just check your TV guide and find that Kentucky Voice TV. I'm very pleased to have a couple of guests on for today's show. The topic for the whole show is going to be the election filings that just happened. If you were interested in running for an office in 2026 in the state of Kentucky, you probably have missed your chance if you didn't get in under that deadline, which was this Friday. And so we've had a day or two to process all of the people that filed for those various races, both local, state, and county level races. And so we're going to go through a lot of that information over the course of this show. The two guests that I have, and I'll bring them on as we progress through the show, are Tina Marie Burnell, who is the president, I believe, of the Louisville Metro Watchdog Alliance, and Jeff Yoakum. Both of them are two of the 12 candidates that filed to run for mayor of the city of Louisville. And so obviously there's a lot of people in that race, and so there can be some confusion about who anyone should be voting for. And so over the next few months before the May primaries, we are going to try to bring in several of the candidates for a lot of these different races, not just mayor, also the Metro Council races in Jefferson County, the magistrate races in the collar counties. We'll also bring in some state Senate and state House representatives to discuss some of their ideas and basically allow you to vet through listening to your radio and watching these podcasts who you want to vote for. It's really that simple. Now, before we even get into any of the discussions with the Metro Council or mayor race candidates, I first want to bring up that in Jefferson County, this is a new phenomenon. The mayor and the Metro Council races this year will be nonpartisan. So what does that mean? Generally, elections in Kentucky are closed primary elections. That means if you are a Republican in the May primaries, you can only vote for which Republican candidate you are interested in. If you are a registered Democrat, you can only vote for which Democrat candidate that you are interested in. Through legislation that just passed in the last session, the mayor race in Louisville and the Metro Council races in Louisville are now nonpartisan. That means you can't just go in and bubble in the R or the D for a straight ticket vote. You actually have to go down and select which candidate you are interested in. And so that puts the onus on you as a listener, as a viewer, and as a voter to know which candidate best represents your values, which ones have a legitimate shot of actually winning. And I believe all these races, the way that the general election will work is the top two vote getters in the primary, regardless of what their own personal party affiliations are, will move on to that general election. So it could be two Republicans that move on, or Republican and Democrat, or two Democrats. That's all very hard to predict, but so you should be aware that's a change that is just being implemented this year. When we come back from the break, I'm going to have on Tina Marie Burnell to talk about her candidacy for Louisville mayor. I urge you to come back, and thank you for joining us here on Kentucky's Voice. I'm your special host, Dr. Lance Pearson. Join us right after the break.
Back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. Again, I'm your special host, Dr. Lance Pearson, with the Louisville Tea Party and the Kentucky Liberty Caucus. I'm joined during this segment with a candidate for Louisville mayor. There will be primaries in May. There will be a general election for the top two vote getters in that primary in the fall. Again, as I mentioned in the first segment, these are nonpartisan races now. So there will not be an R or a D next to any of these people, and you can't just bubble in R or D on the top of your ballot hoping to get a Democrat or Republican. So you really need to be informed about who some of these candidates are and which ones you prefer. Right before I bring Tita on, let me first just mention the list of the 12 candidates for Louisville mayor, just very briefly. Jeff Yoakum is on. He will be in the segment after this one. Craig Greenberg is the current mayor. Bob DeVore, Matthew Bailey, Shamika Parrish Wright, who's a current city councilwoman, Lisa Harris, Tina Burnell, who is going to be in this segment, a person named, I believe it's Stephen DeTillo, but he's going to be on your ballot as the D. I don't know why anyone would put that on the ballot or why anyone would vote for someone that had that on the ballot, but he is on there. Douglas Lattimore, Jody Hurt, Just Austin Lane, and Bill Wells. Okay, producer, can we bring on Tina Burnell, who's going to be phoning in with us? All right, welcome, Tina.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Let's just hop right into it. Your name obviously is Tina Marie Burnell. If people want to find out more about you, they can go to Burnell, which is BURNELL for mayor.com. So Tina, let me just go ahead. Tell me a little bit about yourself and tell me about your connection to Louisville. Like, how far back does your relationship with the city go?
Well, I was born and raised in Valley Station. Went to Valley High School, graduated from Valley High School. I have lived here my entire life.
Okay. And so what is it that basically got you involved in politics and public engagement, public service? Can you talk a little bit about that background?
I got involved. I wouldn't say I started out to get involved in politics. I got involved in understanding the planning and development process and seeing how imbalanced that was and how the public was basically excluded from any meaningful participation in that process. And I got involved with that because one day I was sitting at home and I got a notice about a development that was going to go in 30 feet from my property line.
Okay. And so what did you do about that?
Well, that's when I got involved. I started looking into the process. What was our role? How much input could we have? And we found out it was slim to none. I mean, we they gave us the appearance of participation in the process,
Right.
but learned that it really wasn't meaningful. And that was very frustrating to me because this was my home. I had lived here for 24 years, and with a mailed notice, someone was about to turn our neighborhood upside down. And that was very frustrating to me to feel like my voice and my input in that didn't matter.
Right. And so is that when you decided to form this group, this Louisville Metro Watchdog Alliance, or did that happen later?
That happened just a short bit later because as I
Okay.
went through this process and I saw not only how we were treated by the applicant's attorney, which was just very dismissive, very condescending, and that really infuriated me. Um, but then to see just how convoluted the process was, and as citizens and constituents, that's not something we're normally a part of. So to be thrust into that and to have no idea how that process works, you really don't have a fighting chance. And so I took what I learned through the fight against the development in my backyard, and I took that information and that knowledge and those skills and turned it into a grassroots group to help educate other citizens and community members on that process, so that just in an effort to try to level the playing field.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, that's a great story for our listeners. You had a personal issue, some development in your community that you were not in favor of. You actually learned how the process works and realized it really wasn't designed for the average citizen to be able to put up a real roadblock, to be honest with you. And so you started organizing people. If people want to find that, they can go on Facebook and look for Louisville Metro Watchdog Alliance and follow some of that. Do you have any examples from that group of some accomplishments or like some things that you have exposed or made some open records requests that really, held the Louisville government to account in any way?
There's been a few. So to start with, that initial development that I spoke of, we were able to defeat that. It was really an irresponsible development that didn't
Right.
fit the area and didn't really mesh with the city's comprehensive plan, which generally is used to the benefit of the developers, but really doesn't seem to matter when it's on the side of the community. So we were able to defeat that one. We quickly learned that the mayor refused to sign off on the ordinance. And although that didn't matter and didn't affect the decision that Metro Council made, it did show me where the mayor's loyalty lied, and that he really had no concern for the voices of the people in my community.
Right.
And from that, we went on to defeat another development that we refer to as a bait and switch. It was a developer that we felt was targeting a low income, predominantly Black community for apartment development after apartment development after apartment development. And in this case, they had promised townhomes, and they had sold that before the Planning Commission as diversity of housing in the area. And there was no objection or pushback to that. The townhomes were welcome. And then a couple years later, they decided, oh, we can only afford to do apartments now.
Okay.
And we felt that bait and switch wasn't fair, but we also felt putting more apartments where you've already had several developments of apartments was not okay when there's no other investment going in for infrastructure or
Right.
resources in that community.
Okay. So, and it's easy to understand why you might want to run against Craig Greenberg, who's one of the bigger property developers in the city. Your
Yes.
issues seem to be especially focused on responsible development of communities and planning and zoning issues, which are a large portion of what the city council and the mayor work on. Now, you wound up being a legislative assistant for one of the Metro Council members and learned a little bit about that process, but that led to a lawsuit, and I know that there's some gag orders, and that's an ongoing thing, so you can't talk that much about it. But can you just give us a little background of what was going on there?
Yes. So this particular council person that I ended up going to work for, I managed her campaign. I helped her get in this seat. She ran on the promise of transparency and accountability and a new era. And we got in there, and I saw that that wasn't what was happening, and I was very frustrated by that. And there were a few things that went on that I really was not okay with and didn't feel lined up with the promises that were made. And we had discussions about that. But at one point, Metro Council had a closed executive session, which I was privy to, which I was allowed to attend, and it is my contention that things were discussed and things went on that should not have. And
Okay.
and after that, I knew that I was going to resign, and I set about to put things in motion to that end. And once I resigned, I sent an email to the council president and to all the Metro Council members outlining what I knew, what I thought was inappropriate, and basically imploring them to please do right by your constituents.
Right.
You're due to public integrity. And
Okay.
and then I spoke out at some public meetings about it. And not too long after that, I got notice that they had filed a lawsuit against me and sought a temporary restraining order to silence my speech on the matter.
Okay. So it basically, your contention is you were a gadfly. You were basically trying to hold the public officials to account and make sure they're not doing anything illegal. And as a result, they retaliated against you and limited your free speech. So I understand that. Would you say that that's an example of your willingness to fight what you perceive as corruption in the in Louisville Metro government?
Absolutely. I really have done my best to help people understand how this lawsuit came about and how egregious it is that our elected officials got together and decided, not just decided, they took a vote to use taxpayer funds to sue me, to silence me about their activities. And that should alarm everyone.
Yeah. Okay. We're actually going to bring you back, Tina, right after the break, if you've got a few minutes, and we'll finish about your platform for the city. Thank you very much. Hold on after the break to hear more from Tina and what her platform is for the mayor's election. This is Kentucky's Voice.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Welcome back. This is Kentucky's Voice. I'm your special host, Dr. Lance Pearson with the Kentucky Liberty Caucus and the Louisville Tea Party. I do want to do a quick plug for our station, WBNA, and also Kentucky's Voice. We are a listener-supported ministry. We try to maintain Facebook pages, YouTube. We've got a television channel. Remember, Spectrum 21. You can find our programming. If you would like to give to support that so that we have conservative conversation on Louisville radio, so we basically are engaging people in the war of ideas, you can do that by going to kyvoice.org. Just go to your browser, kyvoice.org, and you'll be able to find a donate button so that you could support our ministry. If you have questions or comments that you would like to register with us, I do read those, even though I'm not great at integrating them into the show yet. You can do that at 502-571-0970. Okay, thank you. We have carried over from the last segment Tina Marie Burnell. She is running for Louisville mayor, one of 12 people that have filed to run so far. And so I hope you caught the first segment. If not, again, you can find that on YouTube later. Tina, let's just focus on your platform. What is it that you want to accomplish? I know your platform slogan is one city for all the people. And so can you talk about basically what that means and what you're focusing in on your campaign and your platform?
Yes. Well, and when I say all the people, I think what's effectively been done in this city is that we've been divided into parts of town. And so you have, West Louisville and South Louisville in the East End, and they kind of pit us all against each other. What resources are you getting that we're not getting? What development are we getting forced, or stuck with that you're not getting? And so there's this constant battle among our community. And our community needs to come together because we are one city and we are all intertwined, and that needs to come together for the betterment of our city as a whole. So some of the things that I would like to accomplish is to empower every neighborhood in our city. We want every neighborhood, every part of town to have a real voice, to have fair investment, to have a say in the decisions that shape the future of our city. I want to end insider favoritism. In my opinion, we have seen more of that in this administration than I have seen in previous administrations. And I think we have to be given everybody an equal opportunity for grants, for contracts, for funding, whether that's for development or other things going on in the city, which also brings us to responsible use of taxpayer dollars. We want to make sure that money is being used responsibly and that we're delivering real value and measurable results. Just this past week, Mayor Greenberg announced a $2 million investment in AI. I don't believe there was any public input sought in that decision. And so things like I think we got to have more public input on. Right. Restoring public trust is huge. I think the trust in the city is almost non-existent. And that even goes for the people who work for our government. I made a post yesterday about the city's ethics code and how there's a provision in there about protecting employees from retaliation for reporting wrongdoing or speaking up about things going on that shouldn't be. And as of now, that's just been on paper. That has not actually benefited any employee who has spoke up about something going on that shouldn't be. And we have to change that. We want the employees of our city to feel safe, to feel free to speak out when they see something that shouldn't be going on.
Right. Okay. I appreciate you coming on. We will try to have a lot of the candidates back in again, including yourself. And so this was just an introduction to Tina. If you want to find out more about her campaign, maybe even give to her campaign, I want to reiterate, you can go to Burnell, which is BURNELL 4FOR Mayor, MAYOR.com. So I just want to say thank you, Tina, and best of luck in this campaign. I know it's going to be a big time commitment and investment, but I do think that there is appeal from you from both sides of the aisle on the basis of kind of fighting corruption that a lot of people know or is happening behind the scenes in the Louisville government.
Right.
All right.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Yep. Thank you. All right. We're going to transition over to our next candidate for Louisville mayor. This is Jeff Yoakum. If we can bring him up on the video. Thank you for joining us, Jeff.
Hey, how you doing, Lance? Good to go? All right.
Yep.
Hey,
There you go.
I want to start with thanking you and Kentucky Voice for having me. This is a huge honor, and any opportunity I get, I'm going to take and fire away.
Okay. So much like Tina, we're going to have a basically introduction. Just tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your connection to the community? Did you grow up here? How long have you lived here? Those sorts of things. Just like, what's your connection to Louisville?
Yes, sir. I'm born and raised in Louisville. I was born in Fort Knox, military family, and lifelong Louisvillian. I grew up in the streets. I grew up not the right path, if you catch my drift. And what it took for me to change my life, I lost a friend. I saw a friend murdered. And I chose to leave Louisville to change my life for the better before I ended up, like many of my friends. And I joined the United States Navy. It saved my life. And unfortunately, I ended up getting injured there. I was 2007 to 2012. I'm a decorated veteran, and I love my country. And that chapter of my life is closed. And if I was willing to fight for Louisville, the entire country, you better believe I'm going to fight for my hometown, my city. And the thing that's got me involved in this is Louisville's first in history nonpartisan. That's non-political election. And me, the leg up I have on a lot of people is I've got 10 years of nonpartisan leadership through the VFW world, and I've been a servant my whole life, and I continue to do so. And things have got to change. Mayor Craig Greenberg, like you listed 12 candidates in this race. The way I see it, you have myself and 10 others that are standing up against Mayor Craig Greenberg, and we want change. He is the problem, and he has to go. You will not see him do this. He will not come on to a podcast like this and just talk to the people.
Right.
But this is what I'm here for. I am in this race for the people. I am a servant. I am not a celebrity. I am not doing this for money or any of this other thing. And I'll tell you all a sad, true story is that I have door knocked and talked to so many people all over Louisville, and you just can't find Craig Greenberg supporters out in the neighborhoods and whatnot. They don't feel safe. They would rather talk to you through a Ring doorbell, and some people even come to the door with firearms, and that's their Second Amendment right, and it needs to be protected. My faith, I'm a Christian, and I'm a soldier. I'm not a pastor, but if you pray, God will use you in, whatever format you are. And I feel that I'm being called to do this, and I don't push my religion on anyone, but in the Bible, a verse has been jumping out to me almost daily, and it's came to me 4 different times. It's Luke 11:52, and it says, "Woe unto you lawyers, you hold the keys to knowledge, and you are denying others from entering." And it's just people need to read that one line out of the Bible and they will understand. I and my family, I'm retired military. I have the blessing. I can pack up, sell my home, and move and start over elsewhere. But going through the city and talking to other people, there's over 400,000 people in Louisville that cannot move away. Right. They cannot. And they need fair representation and to hear all of them. And the way I see it, I've got 10 allies in this race against Craig Greenberg. He is a mastermind of manipulating the tax dollar, and it's got to stop.
Right.
And
okay. Before we end this segment, you mentioned that you're retired military and that you were decorated. Can you talk about some of those decorations that are actually impressive? I want you to brag about it because you deserve it.
Well, I don't like to brag about myself because I'll tell you all this. Being a veteran, I don't play the vet card. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you this. Without the patriots and the people that love the American flag and the red, white, and blue, without them standing behind us, the veterans have no voice. It's all of you. It's the patriots. Mm-hmm. And that's who I am in this race for. And you know what I mean? I'm 43 years old now. I'm about to be 44. In my adult life, I've never been on a vacation. All I have done is served. But it's what I like to do. It's what I'm called to do. Right. And but if you want me to, I can. I don't like doing this, but I've never shown.
Well, let's pick this up right after the break.
Yes, sir.
You're here on Kentucky's Voice. We're talking with Jeff Yoakum, who is one of 12 candidates for Louisville mayor. After the break, we'll pick it up with him and talk about what he wants to do with this, what he sees as a valuable community service.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. I'm your special host, Dr. Lance Pearson. I'm joined now and continuing on from the last segment with Jeff Yoakum, who is one of 12 candidates for Louisville mayor. That primary election, which is nonpartisan, it's going to be basically the top two vote getters, regardless of their party affiliation, are going to move on to the general election. Jeff Yoakum, near the end of the last segment, talked about a little bit about being a retired veteran, with a distinguished career. So, Jeff, can you I want you to detail what that distinguished career looked like. What sort of achievement medals did you win? Those sorts of things.
Actually, I've got multiple. I've got 3 Navy Achievement Medals. I've got letters from admirals, just quite a bit, but the whole thing is, it's not about me. Like, I am not trying to be a celebrity. And that's the problem with this city. You do not have servants. You have celebrities people are so sick of it. And the city has so many problems. You all need to really look into this stuff. Like, I have so many examples. So Kentucky's a big state, yeah? Mm-hmm. There are over 170, and please understand, I know that the school system goes under the superintendent, but y'all need to ask this question. How is Dr. Yearwood, our school superintendent right now, when he only received 9% support? 9%. The community was not behind him. The educators were not behind him, and over 75% of the principals of the schools were not behind him. But somehow, there's your superintendent. So you need to start asking these kind of questions, the things that make the mayor very uncomfortable. And, they're going to say, well, education falls under something else. Well, why is Mayor Craig Greenberg pushing the pre-K education on our kids now with his Thrive by 5 program? Is that really going to fix things? Like, the people need solutions now. Look at the K through 12. That's where the problem's at. 171 school districts in Kentucky, and we are one school district, and there are 53 schools that are in CSI status, which means they're in the bottom 5% of the state. Guess how many are in this one district? We're one district out of 171. We have 43 of the schools here.
Yep.
Here, or yes, it's 41 of the schools. I'm sorry, they'll try to correct me on that, but it's 41 of the schools are right here. Yeah. That's 77% of our schools. And
the entire
it's in
state
flames.
are in Louisville, yeah.
Yeah, and $188 million deficit. There's no answers. They don't know what they're going to do. They want to sell this. They want to sell that. You can't do that. You can't close these schools. My kid's school, it's 106% capacity right now. But, There's a lot of dicey things to talk about here,
Yep.
but the people need to understand I am a servant, not a celebrity, and that's what you need to get in there. And any corruption, like Tina has spoken of, I will also expose it. It will be exposed, and
Right.
it's coming. But go ahead, Lance.
Yeah. No, so reading your platform, and if you want to read more about his platform, he's actually currently running his campaign from his Facebook account. So you'll want to go on Facebook and search for Jeff, Jeff, Yoakum, Yocum, Yocum. So try to find his Facebook page, and he'll talk about some of these topics that he's going to address here. But just browsing that, it seemed like your platform was focused on fiscal responsibility, cleaning up our streets in terms of drugs, and prioritizing basically the common person over the influence of elites. Can you talk about some of those issues, maybe some personal connections that you have to it, crime, drugs, any of those things, and why those are so passionate for you and why you want to focus on those in your campaign?
Well, that's the thing. I come from a long line of veterans going all the way back to the Revolution. My family, we just love to serve, right? And my dad is one of the most decorated Vietnam veterans here in Louisville now. My great uncle, he didn't come home. My great uncle died in Luneville, France, and it's crazy. And I've got so many topics rolling around in my head right now, but I have to emphasize how bad Mayor Craig Greenberg is really doing. But their propaganda reels and their machines is just, they act like everything's great. There are over 2,000 families under his watch that have lost a loved one, including my own family. My nephew came home on leave in the military. He was transferring from Key West, going to Okinawa, Japan. Told him not to go out. I said, the city's not safe right now. You don't need to be going out. This is 2023. He chose to go out, single, pocket full of money, which he should be safe in the city of Louisville, right? He got hit by an AK-47 round in a drive-by, and guess where my nephew's at now? He's down there at the Veteran Cemetery. It's things like this. There's over 2,000 families that are living this. They don't want to go outside no more. They're broken. They're hurting. They're not recovering. But what do you see when you look for something on Mayor Craig Greenberg? He's running 5Ks throughout the city, on your tax dollar. He's very good on this. Check this out. The tax manipulation that he is so good at. He said, I've got $1 million that I'm putting into the libraries, and I want you all to match it with donations. Match. It's your tax dollars. The millions already going to the library from your tax dollars. And now he's hustling to get $1 million in donations to match it. He's a genius. What's coming out of his pocket? Nothing. You know what I mean? And it's making me sick. And the people of Louisville and their tax dollars, they're tired of the taxation. They're tired of being taxed to death. The businesses, and that's one of my big supporters. And I have not taken a dollar from anyone, and I've made it this far. You know what I mean? I am going to serve the people of Louisville. And instead of retreating, I am standing my ground, and I'm fighting for the people that are here and that cannot escape. A lot of the people told me that. They said, I'd love to move out, but I can't.
Right.
And I'm here for all of you. And it don't matter where you're at. I've got 18 businesses and endorsements behind me already. You know what I mean? They have a voice, and they are not happy with this current administration here in Louisville. And they're sending me forth, and I have a lot of allies in the race. And I have one opponent. My one opponent is Mayor Craig Greenberg, and it's time for change.
Okay. So to summarize, it seems like your background, which is heavily military influence, but a career of public service, basically through the military and beyond that, working with the VFW, et cetera. That's something that distinguishes you from Craig Greenberg, is basically your position, right?
Well, this is a nonpartisan race. How can Mayor Craig Greenberg say that when he is a champion of the DNC? He's a former DNC delegate. And look at the PAC money he's got rolling in right now, millions. And that's the other thing. And I try to encourage people, if you raise $2 million, he's going to raise $4 million. You raise $6 million, he's going to raise $8 million. They do not want to give up Louisville. And this is the truth of it. But if you want a Louisvillian, somebody that's born and raised here and cares about the place enough, I'm not evacuating. I'm staying here and fighting. That's what military don't retreat. I'm here for you. I am here for the people. Not, like I said, I'm doing it. That's what I'm doing it for. The right reasons. That's why I'm in this race.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Jeff, for joining us. If you want to find out more about his campaign, again, go to Facebook. You just search for Jeff Yoakum, Yocum. Yeah, you had another.
I was going to say, and you can also catch me on X, and it is at the one we fear. And you can also find me, Jeff Yoakum, on there. I don't hide. You know, they say, "Oh, you're doxing yourself." I don't hide. I'm not afraid.
Okay.
And that's the thing. A lot of the people of the city are afraid, and I'm not. You
Okay.
can, and if you want to reach out to me, please reach out to me. And I'm not here to nickel and dime people that are already hurting as bad as they are. But if somebody out there, you know, is very blessed in life and want to help out, they can get in contact with me and we can go from there.
Okay. All right. Thank you for joining us, Jeff. We're going to continue the rest of the show talking about some of the other races. And so I want to thank Tina Marie Burnell and also Jeff Yoakum for coming in to talk about the Louisville mayor's race. There are a ton of elections that are on the ballot going forward. And so let me just do a quick primer on some of what we saw in the filing. Just a second. Okay. So among the most common things that people filed to run for in this state, this midterm election cycle, are the state legislative positions. And so the most powerful positions in the state, contrary to popular belief, is not the governor, it is the state legislature. And so just as an example of that, if you have a majority in the state legislature and you pass a bill, even if the governor vetoes it, all you need is a simple majority, 50% plus one vote in order to override that veto and force through a change in the law. And so we actually have essentially determined that we are going to have a Republican state legislature for the next 2 years already, right after the filing deadline. How can that be, you ask? Well, for most of these races, not most, but for enough of these races, a Democrat did not even file to run for the seat, such that we can be fairly assured 90%, 95%, maybe in some cases 100% certain that Republicans are going to control either the House or the Senate. So let me get into some of those details. The first is there are 100 races throughout this state for the Kentucky State House, the representative races. Of those 100 races, 41 of those races are completely unopposed. That means 36 Republicans and 5 Democrats have neither a Democrat running against them in the primary nor a person of the other party running in the general. So they basically have already won that race because nobody else filed against them. So 36 Republican and 5 Democrat. I do want to emphasize that Republicans were unable to find a candidate in 3 races that I consider purplish, maybe a little bit blue. They're currently held by Democrats, but they're close enough that you would think Republicans could be competitive. That's a district in eastern Jefferson County held by Tina Bojanowski, in South Central Fayette, Chad All, and Erica Hancock is in Frankfort. We didn't get a Republican to run for that, so those seats are essentially going to stay in Democrat hands. However, there are 6 races that are determined entirely by the Republican primary. That is, only the Republicans fielded a candidate, even if it's more than one of those candidates. So whichever Republican wins, they don't essentially have to run a race in the general election. So all told, the Republicans are going to start with essentially 47 seats out of 100 before the elections even happen. They only need to win 4 of 49 contested general election races in order to get that majority. And I assure you that the Republicans will win at least 5 of those 49. On the Senate side, which we'll talk a little bit more about on the next segment, it's a very similar situation, but Republicans basically already control a Republican. They already control a majority even before the elections happen. Join us after the break. We'll talk more about the details of those elections.
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Welcome back. I'm your special host of Kentucky's Voice, Dr. Lance Pearson. I want to give another plug for kyvoice.org. Go to your browser and enter that website if you want to give to our ministry, which supports this radio program, Facebook, YouTube, under the moniker of Kentucky's Voice. And also, we rebroadcast this 3 times throughout the day at 12:30, 4, and 8, I believe, on Channel 21 if you have Spectrum. All right. So we were joined earlier in the program by Tina Marie Burnell and also Jeff Yoakum, who are 2 of the 12 candidates who are running for the Louisville mayor's race. The incumbent is Craig Greenberg, and rightfully he is generally considered the front runner for this race. Nevertheless, I expect a very spirited campaign because there are a lot of people, including the 2 that we just had on, that are passionate that the city needs to go in a different direction on several points. All right. We started talking about the state legislature, what's called the General Assembly in Frankfort. We will have those elections also in the fall. And so we mentioned the Kentucky State House. There are 100 races. There was no one that filed either Republican or Democrat to oppose 36 Republicans and 5 Democrats that are currently in those seats. So 41 races are totally unopposed. We already know who's going to win those. There are 6 races that only had Republicans that filed. So we don't know which Republican's going to win in the primary, but we know that a Republican will. So the Republicans already have 47 seats out of the 100. And I can assure you that they will win at least 4 in order to get that 51 vote majority so that they can pass legislation and override a veto from Governor Beshear. The only other standard actually is you need to have 60% of the votes in each chamber if you're trying to pass, I believe, constitutional amendments or budget or appropriation bills during a non-budget year, which we are not in a non-budget year. Okay. So transitioning over to the Kentucky Senate, equally powerful to the House of Representatives. There are 38 seats, half of which come up every 2 years. So they have 4-year terms in each 2 years. 2 years. There are 19 of those 38 races that come up for election. 8 of those elections that are going to happen in the fall have no opposition whatsoever. So the person that currently holds those seats has already basically won the elections before we even start. And all 8 of those are Republicans. There's another one that only has Republicans running for it. So 2 Republicans are running against each other. And so we don't know exactly which one is going to win, but we know a Republican's going to win. So 9 of the 19 seats that are up for election have already been decided that they're going to be Republican. Of the 19 seats that are not up for election this cycle, Republicans control 14 of those. So 9 plus 14, the Republicans already have 23 out of 38 seats in the Senate before we actually have any of the elections, which is a majority. So what do I expect? I expect that we're going to have a very similar composition in the General Assembly on both the House side and the Senate side when we go through. The Democrats didn't put up enough candidates that are viable challengers to enough of these seats, that even if there was a radical shift towards the Democratic Party, the pendulum swung towards the Democratic Party. I just don't think they have enough contested elections to win those, even if there were that kind of like nuclear event where everybody was really excited about voting in Democrats. I also don't get that that's the temperature of Kentucky. I think the Republicans have generally managed our finances well, which is the number one priority of the General Assembly, and many of those will be reelected, even beyond the standard incumbent bias. It's much easier to retain a seat than it is to win a seat that you are not in right now. Okay. Now, how about some of the most contested races that we can expect to see at the state legislative level? Well, in the Louisville area, there are a couple. I fully expect that there will be a fairly competitive race for Julie Rocky Adams' seat, which is in the east end of Jefferson County. She's fought off challengers in the past. I believe there's a Louisville basketball player, maybe Luke Whitehead, is running against her for that seat. Nevertheless, Julie Rocky Adams has been in that seat for, I want to say 16 years. That may not be accurate, but a long time. That's the bottom line, and is generally well liked. So while that will be somewhat competitive and she's going to have to campaign, she does have a substantial fundraising advantage already. That's one of the advantages of incumbency. You can be fundraising all the time, whereas a challenger usually comes on and in 5 or 6 months they have to do all their fundraising for a campaign. There could be a competitive election in the Prospect area / Oldham County / Trimble. That Senate race is held by Lindsay Titchener currently. She did not get a Republican primary, which I feel she would have won anyway. But there are 2 Democrats that are running against her. One of which is a physician. The other, I believe, is a UAW member, maybe at Ford. So I don't know how competitive that race is going to be. I generally think that Lindsay Titchener has done a fairly good job, even a very good job if you're conservative leaning. She's been one of the thought leaders in the Kentucky Senate for conservative, especially social conservative legislation. Nevertheless, I expect that the Democratic Party will put a lot of money into that race because it's more purple than most of the other races in the state. On the House side, there will be some entertaining elections. I don't know a couple of these, how competitive they will be. There are 2 Republicans, one of which is Bill Wesley, who is running for a Senate race. Oh, did I say the House side? This is a Senate race. Bill Wesley is challenging an incumbent in Eastern Kentucky, but both are Republicans, so a Republican will win that seat anyway. But I expect that to be very spirited. Bill Wesley has been a House rep for quite a while in part of that district, and so he's challenging a Senate incumbent who most people expected was not going to run this time. He reconsidered and he ran. On the House side, however, there are a few races that will be very entertaining. Killian Timoney is running again in South Fayette County, Northern northern Jessamine County, just south of Lexington. And that seat, Killian Timoney had held that seat for several cycles till he was beaten in a Republican primary quite convincingly. The Republican that beat him, however, lost a very close election in the general election to a Democrat who currently holds that seat. I think his name is Adam Moore. And this time, Killian has decided to run again. He has a new challenge. He has a new opponent. There's no challenger because he's not the incumbent anymore. By the name, I believe, is Jeff Thompson, who was an Idaho legislator before moving to South Fayette County. So that will be an interesting race. Let's see. Another race that I expect to be very competitive, mostly because of how many people are running for it. There is a state Senate race to replace a retiring legislator from Nelson County. And so that Jimmy Higdon is the name of that legislator who has decided not to run again. I believe the counties that are in that Senate seat are Nelson County, Marion County, perhaps Spencer County is part of that, and I believe Washington County. So this is kind of to the east, maybe slightly northeast of Hardin County, Elizabethtown. I believe there are 6 or 7 Republicans that have filed to run for that and 2 Democrats. So clearly there was several people that felt eager to run for that, and they were just waiting for Jimmy Higdon to retire, apparently. We will try to have on some of those candidates later on. Some other competitive races that we might expect. There is a very interesting race in western Kentucky, all the way out in Graves County, just south of Paducah, basically. Graves County and southern McCracken County, which is the county that Paducah is in. There was a longtime legislator. I believe he had held that seat for 10 or 12 years by the name of Richard Heath. You may know his name because he ran for agriculture commissioner unsuccessfully at least 2 times. He lost a primary last cycle to a freshman legislator named Kim Holloway, who I am good friends with, by the way, full disclosure. I actually know Richard Heath reasonably well as well, given that he ran for agricultural commissioner several times. I had occasion to run into him on many occasions. I expect that to be a very competitive race. There is a third candidate that will throw a wrench into the workings of that and make it slightly unpredictable. I believe his name is Nate Cox. So there will be a 3-way race between what was a longtime incumbent who lost a cycle and then has decided to try to run again. So keep an eye on that election. Let's see. Are there any other? That's just as a first pass. Again, we didn't get the final listing of all the candidates until late Friday. And so we've had a couple days to process it, but those are the races that I expect to be particularly interesting. There's also a challenge from a candidate that we have had on our program before in Northern Kentucky. Kim Banta is being challenged by a young man who is a social conservative and has worked in public policy for many years by the name of Cole Cusick. I'm personally supporting Cole Cusick in that campaign, but that will be an interesting one. And I believe that Kim Mosier, who's also in Northern Kentucky, got a primary challenge as well, but not the one that people were expecting. Karen Campbell, who only lost by, I believe, 84 votes in the last cycle, she has decided not to run again due to some family health issues. And so I believe the last name of the person that's running against her is Berger. So again, this will be a spirited campaign. It's essentially already been decided that Republicans will control both the House and the Senate. It's just a question of what those margins will look like and what the ideology of the people that are occupying all those seats will look like. So an interesting election season coming up. Next week, I expect to have Daniel Cameron on the show. Join us again on Monday next week. I'm your host, Dr. Lance Pearson, Kentucky's Voice.